Imagine this. You've given your time, your love, and your energy to someone, believing it will make a difference. You've shown kindness, gone out of your way, perhaps even sacrificed something of your own. And yet, there is no acknowledgement, no thank you, no sign that what you did truly mattered. How does that make you feel? Frustrated, angry, disappointed, or maybe even a little resentful? It's a feeling many of us have faced, especially as we grow older and experience more of life's ups and downs. And it's a feeling that, if left unchecked, can easily lead to bitterness and hurt. But here's the question: how should we respond? Is anger the answer? Should we hold on to that sense of injustice? Or is there a different way forward? Today we are going to explore just that. In this episode of Quiet Wisdom, we'll turn to the teachings of the Buddha for guidance on how to deal with ungratefulness, not with frustration, but with peace, understanding, and love. How can we navigate these challenging emotions? How can we find a way to move forward, even when our kindness seems to go unnoticed? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you respond to ungratefulness forever. Let's journey into the heart of Buddhist wisdom and discover how to handle these moments with grace and compassion. 1. The truth about expectations. The first lesson from the Buddha is this: expectation is the root of suffering. This concept is not just a teaching, it's a powerful insight into the way our minds work. How often do we give to others, whether it's our time, energy, or love, and in return expect gratitude or acknowledgement? It's almost second nature to think that when we do something good for someone, they will somehow show appreciation. We might expect a thank you, a smile, a gesture of kindness, or even just a simple recognition that what we did mattered. But what happens when that doesn't come? We are left with a deep sense of disappointment and perhaps even anger. And this, my friends, is where suffering begins. Let me share a story with you, one that perfectly encapsulates this lesson. In a quiet village nestled in the mountains, a young monk worked tirelessly day after day to help the villagers. He would gather firewood, carry water, clean the temple, and offer guidance to those who sought his wisdom. Yet, despite his tireless efforts, no one ever expressed their gratitude. The villagers would go about their lives without a word of thanks, and the monk couldn't help but feel invisible. One evening, feeling especially disheartened, the young monk approached his master with a heavy heart. "Master," he said, "I've been helping the villagers for many years, but they never thank me. I feel invisible. It seems as though no one notices the work I do." The master, a wise old monk with a calm demeanor, smiled gently. He pointed to a flower blooming in the garden nearby and asked, "Do the flowers ask for the bees' gratitude when it comes to gather nectar?" The young monk paused, contemplating the question. "No," he replied softly. The master continued, "The flowers bloom because it is their nature to do so. They do not wait for recognition. They bloom simply because that is what they are meant to do. Similarly, you help because it is your nature to do so, not because of any expectation of acknowledgement. The beauty of your actions lies not in the recognition you receive, but in the fact that you do them with a pure heart." This Zen story teaches us one of the most profound Buddhist teachings: non-attachment. The monk was suffering because he had attached his happiness to the idea of receiving gratitude. He believed that his worth was measured by how others saw him, by the acknowledgement he received for his efforts. But in truth, the act of giving, whether it's time, love, or effort, is a gift in itself, without needing to be repaid. Buddhism encourages us to give without expecting anything in return. When we give with the hope of receiving something back, be it gratitude, recognition, or praise, we are setting ourselves up for disappointment. After all, the world does not revolve around our expectations. People are not obligated to express gratitude in the way we imagine. By attaching ourselves to these expectations, we only create space for frustration and sadness. On the other hand, when we give out of love and compassion without expecting anything back, we open ourselves up to a deeper sense of peace. Imagine the flower in the garden. It doesn't demand anything from the bee. It simply opens its petals and offers its beauty, knowing that its purpose is to bloom. Similarly, when we act from a place of true generosity, without expecting recognition, we experience a sense of fulfillment that comes not from the other person, but from within ourselves. Think about it for a moment. How often do we find ourselves caught up in the need for validation? We might do something kind for a friend, a family member, or a colleague, and when they don't say thank you, we feel slighted. We wonder, why don't they appreciate me? What did I do wrong? But the truth is, the more we seek validation from others, the more we bind ourselves to their behavior, which is outside our control. It's like trying to catch the wind in our hands. The more we grasp at it, the more it slips through our fingers. Instead, let us shift our focus. Let us embrace the beauty of selfless giving. Let us offer our kindness, our time, our help, without the strings of expectation attached. When we do this, we are not only helping others but also nurturing our own inner peace. We are giving the best part of ourselves, not to gain recognition, but simply because it feels right, because it is in our nature to love and serve. So the next time you feel disappointed by someone's lack of gratitude, take a deep breath and remind yourself, the flowers do not ask for the bee's gratitude, they simply bloom. You too can bloom in your own way, offering kindness and love without the need for anything in return. And in doing so, you will find a deep, unshakable peace that no external validation can ever provide. Remember, giving is a gift in itself. 2. Acting with pure intention. The Buddha teaches us that the true essence of giving lies not in the results, but in the purity of our intentions. Karma, in its most profound form, is not about how our actions are received, but about the spirit in which they are offered. The Buddha once shared this powerful insight: do not give with the expectation of receiving. And if we pause to reflect on this teaching, it becomes clear that the path to peace is paved with selfless acts done with no strings attached. Imagine for a moment, if the sun only rose because it expected something in return. Can you picture it? Every morning, as the first light touches the earth, the sun would wait for a thank you from the flowers, the trees, the birds. It would wait for some sign of acknowledgement before shining. But that's not how it works, is it? No, the sun rises every day because it is in its very nature to shine, to give warmth and light, regardless of whether anyone notices or not. It doesn't expect anything in return, it simply shines. This is the essence of pure intention: to offer without expectation, to give freely without looking for anything back. And it's here that we find freedom. When we act out of love, kindness, or compassion, not with the aim of gaining approval or acknowledgement, we return to our true nature. We become like the sun, shining because that is what we are meant to do. There is a beautiful story about a wise monk that perfectly illustrates this principle. He lived in a small village nestled in the mountains, a place where the people were poor and often overwhelmed by the hardships of life. The monk would spend his days helping wherever he was needed. He would help rebuild houses after storms, offer food to the hungry, and provide guidance to those who sought wisdom. And yet, despite all his efforts, no one ever thanked him. The villagers went about their lives, ungrateful or unaware of the monk's contributions. One day, a young disciple approached the monk and asked, "Master, why do you continue to help others when they don't seem to appreciate your efforts? They never thank you. Why do you bother?" The wise monk smiled, his eyes kind but steady, and replied, "I am like the rain that falls from the sky, nourishing the plants. The rain doesn't ask if the plants will thank it, it simply nourishes. The rain knows its purpose, and it falls because it is its nature to do so. Similarly, I help not because I seek gratitude, but because it is my nature to serve." The disciple paused, taking in the wisdom of his teacher's words. It was a simple yet profound truth. The monk didn't give for the sake of receiving. He didn't need to hear "thank you" to feel fulfilled. His actions were aligned with his deepest values, and that in itself was enough. The monk was content, not because others recognized him, but because he was living in accordance with his true self. This teaching offers us a powerful lesson. When we let go of the need for recognition, when we act from a place of pure intention, we free ourselves from the burden of ungratefulness. We realize that the beauty of our actions lies not in the outcome, but in the act itself. When we give with a pure heart, we don't measure our worth by others' reactions. Instead, we recognize that we are already whole, and our actions simply reflect that wholeness. So the next time you offer your time, your help, or your love, ask yourself, am I giving because I want something in return, or am I giving because it is my true nature to do so? When we can answer this honestly, we begin to release the hold that ungratefulness can have on our hearts. We start to live with peace, knowing that our actions are aligned with our authentic selves, and that is the greatest reward of all. Remember, like the sun, we shine not because we expect recognition, but because it is in our very nature to do so. Let us give freely, love unconditionally, and live authentically without the need for anything in return. When we live with pure intention, we find that the world around us reflects that same purity, and our hearts are filled with peace. 3. Practicing self-validation. In a world that constantly pulls us toward external validation, it's easy to forget the most important source of approval, the one that comes from within. We often find ourselves looking outward, hoping for recognition, praise, or even simple acknowledgement. But what if I told you that the key to lasting peace lies in something far deeper within ourselves? The Buddha, with his timeless wisdom, taught that true validation comes from self-awareness, sati, or mindfulness. This practice is not just about noticing the world around us, but about turning inward and reflecting on our own actions with honesty and compassion. When we help others, we often find ourselves wanting some form of external validation, a thank you, a compliment, a smile. However, the Buddha reminds us that real peace and fulfillment come not from the acknowledgement of others, but from knowing, deep within, that we have acted in line with our deepest values. Imagine, for a moment, a time when you did something kind for someone, a friend, a colleague, or even a stranger. Perhaps you helped someone carry their groceries, gave someone a kind word in a difficult moment, or simply listened with a full heart when they needed it most. And yet, despite your good intentions, no one seemed to notice. No gratitude was expressed. No recognition was given. How did that make you feel? It's easy at such moments to feel a pang of disappointment. We may even ask ourselves, did my kindness even matter? Why didn't they thank me? This is where practicing self-validation becomes crucial. Instead of looking to others to validate our actions, we must ask ourselves, did I act with compassion? Did I remain true to my values? When we find the answers within ourselves, a beautiful transformation happens. We realize that the act of kindness was the reward in itself. The kindness was not for recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. Take, for example, A story from the life of a wise monk. One day, after spending hours helping to rebuild a small hut for a poor family, the monk's efforts went unnoticed. The family was so consumed with their own struggles that they never even acknowledged the monk's hard work. Yet, instead of feeling hurt or angry, the monk smiled quietly to himself. He was at peace. When a young disciple approached him and asked, "Master, why do you continue to help when no one seems to appreciate your efforts?" The monk responded, "I do not seek recognition for my kindness. My joy comes from knowing that I have helped others, that I have lived in alignment with my values. The act itself is enough for me." The monk's response beautifully illustrates the Buddhist principle of equanimity, the ability to remain calm and balanced, unaffected by external circumstances, whether they are praise or criticism. It's a delicate art, one that allows us to maintain our inner peace, regardless of the reactions or lack thereof from the world around us. When we learn to find validation from within, we no longer rely on the whims of others for our sense of worth. It's important to remember that self-validation is not about feeding the ego. Rather, it is about acknowledging that we acted with a pure heart and remain true to our values. In those moments when no one notices your kindness, pause and reflect. Appreciate the fact that you gave from a place of sincerity, and that in itself is beautiful. There is profound peace in knowing that your actions align with your heart. Next time you do something kind and feel unnoticed, take a moment to ask yourself these questions. Did I act with compassion? Did I stay true to my values? If the answer is yes, then celebrate that. Even if no one else does, you are your own source of validation, and that is all you truly need. 4. Speaking with compassion. One of the core teachings of the Buddha is right speech. This principle, which forms part of the Noble Eightfold Path, guides us to communicate truthfully with compassion and mindfulness. Yet, in the fast-paced world we live in, where emotions often surge uncontrollably, practicing right speech can feel like a challenge, especially when we are faced with ungratefulness or criticism. How easy it is to let our words fly in anger or frustration when we feel unseen, unappreciated, or disrespected. But the Buddha teaches us that when we speak, we should do so with the intention to bring peace, not conflict, to ourselves or others. It's easy to react impulsively, especially when someone dismisses our kindness or doesn't appreciate what we've done. Our immediate response might be to defend ourselves, to demand acknowledgement, or to lash out in hurt. But when we speak from a place of anger, our words are like sharp arrows that wound both ourselves and the other person. Instead, the Buddha urges us to pause, to breathe, and to choose our words carefully, knowing that the power of our speech is immense. Let me share a story of a wise monk that beautifully illustrates this principle. This story takes place in a small village where a humble monk was traveling to a nearby town. On his journey, he encountered a fellow traveler who, for reasons unknown, decided to insult the monk. The traveler hurled cruel words at him, criticizing his appearance and his path in life. The monk stood there, silently enduring the harsh words. He didn't argue, didn't defend himself, and didn't retaliate. He simply listened, with a calm expression on his face. After the traveler finished his rant, he looked at the monk, expecting a response, but none came. Confused and perhaps frustrated by the monk's silence, he asked, "Why didn't you say anything? Aren't you angry? Don't you care that I insulted you?" The monk, with his serene and gentle demeanor, simply smiled and replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you choose not to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The traveler paused, processing the words, and slowly realized the depth of the monk's wisdom. The insults, much like an unwanted gift, could only hurt if the monk accepted them. By remaining silent, the monk had detached himself from the negativity. He didn't need to carry the emotional weight of the traveler's words, for they were not his to accept. This simple yet profound story teaches us the art of detachment, not detaching ourselves from others, but from their negativity and ungratefulness. In life, we will inevitably encounter people who act out of bitterness, frustration, or jealousy. They may speak unkindly, dismiss our kindness, or refuse to acknowledge our efforts. But the Buddha reminds us that we don't need to accept their negativity. We can choose to remain calm, to speak with compassion, and to respond from a place of peace. When faced with ungratefulness, we have the power to rise above it. Instead of reacting with anger or hurt, we can pause and ask ourselves, what will my response bring? Will it add to the conflict, or will it bring peace? In many cases, the best response is silence, a moment of pause that allows us to regain composure and reflect on how we truly want to respond. When we speak from this place of mindfulness and compassion, our words have the power to heal. They can disarm the harshness of the world around us, bringing light where there was once darkness. We don't need to fight back or demand recognition. Instead, we let go of the emotional burden and choose to speak from our hearts, offering kindness instead of anger. In your own life, when you face moments of ungratefulness or criticism, take a deep breath. Remember the monk's wisdom: if someone offers you a gift and you choose not to accept it, to whom does the gift belong? You have the power to let go of the negativity, to remain centered, and to respond with compassion. By doing so, you protect your inner peace, and you invite others to see the beauty of kindness, even in the face of adversity. 5. Setting healthy boundaries. In Buddhist philosophy, the mind is often compared to a garden. Just like a garden, the mind can be filled with beauty, peace, and growth, or it can become overrun with weeds of negativity and discontent. What we allow into our minds, what we focus on and dwell upon, is what will take root and grow. If we constantly allow ourselves to be consumed by the negativity of others, we will find that our peace is drained and our joy diminished. This is why setting healthy boundaries, not only in our relationships with others, but also within our own minds, is crucial. When we encounter ungrateful people, or those who constantly take without giving back, it can feel overwhelming. We give and give, hoping that our kindness will be reciprocated, but we are left feeling drained, frustrated, and unappreciated. This is where boundaries become essential. Boundaries are not about shutting others out or rejecting them. Rather, they are about protecting ourselves, preserving our peace, and ensuring that we do not lose ourselves in the process of giving. Let me share a story that beautifully illustrates the importance of boundaries, especially in the face of ungratefulness. There was a woman named Anika who had always been the one to offer help, whether it was to friends, family, or even strangers in need. She gave her time, her energy, and her love freely, expecting nothing in return. But over time, she began to notice a pattern. The people she helped were never truly grateful. They took her kindness for granted, and often they didn't even acknowledge her efforts. Anika began to feel resentment bubbling up inside her. She was exhausted, both physically and emotionally, but she didn't know how to stop. One day, she visited her teacher, a wise elderly monk who had always offered her advice in times of struggle. She shared her frustration, explaining how her kindness was going unnoticed and how she felt used. The monk listened carefully, his calm presence offering her a moment of peace in the midst of her turmoil. He then spoke gently, "Anika, imagine a tree growing in a forest. If the tree is surrounded by rocks and other obstacles, it will struggle to grow. It needs space to stretch its roots, to breathe, and to reach towards the sun. Just like the tree, you need space to grow too. You cannot give endlessly to others if you have no space to nourish your own roots. The monk continued, "Setting boundaries is not about pushing people away. It is about ensuring that you have room to grow. It is about protecting your own peace so that you can continue to offer kindness, not from a place of depletion, but from a place of strength and balance." Anika took the monk's words to heart. She began to set boundaries with those who took advantage of her kindness. She started saying no when she felt overwhelmed, and she began to focus more on her own well-being. Over time, she noticed a shift. As she set clearer boundaries, she found herself feeling more at peace, more energized, and more able to offer her kindness freely, without resentment. This story highlights an important Buddhist teaching. We are not responsible for the happiness or well-being of others. We can only control our own actions, and we are not obligated to give to those who do not appreciate us. By setting healthy boundaries, we are protecting our own peace and ensuring that we can continue to act with kindness, but not at the cost of our own well-being. The Buddha's teachings on right action remind us that our actions should be aligned with our values and should come from a place of compassion, not from obligation or fear. When we set boundaries, we are acting in alignment with our deepest wisdom, recognizing that we are not responsible for how others react, but only for how we choose to respond. Sometimes, the kindest thing we can do for someone who is ungrateful is to step back, give them space, and allow them to reflect on their own actions. Remember, just as a tree needs space to grow, so do you. Your peace is sacred, and it is your responsibility to protect it. When you set boundaries, you are honoring yourself and your own well-being, allowing yourself the space to grow and flourish. 6. Fostering gratitude within. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, we must remember to nurture gratitude within ourselves. It's so easy, isn't it, to get caught up in the feeling that we are not appreciated. We give our time, our energy, our love, and we look to others for acknowledgement, only to find ourselves feeling empty, wondering if our efforts even matter. When this happens, it's as if we've built a house with our kindness, only for it to be left unnoticed and unappreciated. But here's the truth. The key to peace and happiness is not found in the gratitude of others, but in the gratitude we cultivate within ourselves. Let me share a story that beautifully illustrates the power of internal gratitude. There was once an elderly woman named May, who had lived a full and meaningful life. In her younger years, she had dedicated herself to raising her children and helping her community. But as time passed, she found herself surrounded by a world that seemed too busy to notice her, too wrapped up in their own lives to express appreciation for all she had done. As she sat in her garden one afternoon, watching the sun dip below the horizon, she felt a deep sense of sadness. "Why do I feel so alone?" she wondered. "Why do I give so much, yet no one seems to care?" One day, May decided to seek wisdom from the village elder, a kind and wise monk who had always been a source of comfort. May shared her frustrations with him, expressing how she longed for recognition, how she felt unnoticed. The monk listened patiently, and after a long pause, he offered her a small leather-bound notebook. "This," he said, "is a gratitude journal. Each day, write down 3 things you are grateful for. They don't have to be big things, just simple moments of beauty or kindness that you encounter in your day." May was skeptical at first, but she decided to give it a try. That evening, as the stars twinkled above, she took out the journal and wrote, I am grateful for the warmth of the sun on my face. I am grateful for the birds singing in the trees. I am grateful for the laughter of my grandchildren. As the days passed, May continued the practice. At first it felt forced. She was searching for things to be grateful for, but as time went on, it became easier. The little things in life, the fragrance of flowers, the sound of rain on the roof, the kindness of a neighbor, began to fill her heart with warmth. She found herself smiling more, feeling lighter, even though the world around her had not changed. What had changed was her perspective. She no longer needed to rely on others for her happiness. May realized that the act of gratitude itself had opened a door to peace and contentment within her. This practice of gratitude is something we can all cultivate, no matter the circumstances. It's so easy to focus on what we don't have or what others don't give us. But when we shift our attention to the abundance we already have, when we recognize the small joys and blessings that fill our lives every day, our hearts begin to soften and our minds find rest. A gratitude journal, as simple as it may seem, has the power to transform our lives. Each day, write down 3 things you are grateful for. Anything that brings you peace or joy. It could be the warmth of a cup of tea, the comfort of a good book, or the smile of a stranger. These moments are treasures, and when we notice them, we begin to realize just how rich we already are. As we practice gratitude, we also practice mindfulness. We learn to live in the present moment, appreciating what is here right now, rather than longing for something we don't have. This shift in perspective creates space for peace, for contentment, and for joy, regardless of whether others appreciate us or not. In fact, when we embrace gratitude, we no longer depend on others for our happiness. We no longer need validation or acknowledgement from the world outside. Our joy becomes independent of external circumstances, and in this way, we find true freedom. So, my dear friends, as you move through your day, take a moment to pause and reflect. What are you grateful for today? In this very moment, what small joys can you celebrate? By fostering gratitude within, we create a sanctuary of peace, a space where no matter what the world gives us, we are already whole, already fulfilled, and in that space, we can truly rest. So, my dear friends, as we pause and reflect on how to deal with ungrateful people through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, let us carry these precious lessons with us as we walk through life. Release expectations, give freely, without the need for recognition. In doing so, you will discover the joy of giving for the sake of love, not for the reward of applause. Act with pure intention. When we act from a place of compassion, we find peace in knowing that we have lived in alignment with our values, regardless of how our actions are received by others. Validate yourself. Your peace and happiness do not depend on the approval of others. You are worthy of peace simply because you are you, and your kindness is a reflection of your inner wisdom, not something to be measured by external acknowledgement. Speak with compassion. Let go of anger. Let go of the impulse to retaliate. Instead, choose words that heal, that build bridges, and that reflect the calm of your heart. Set healthy boundaries, protect your peace. You have every right to preserve your energy for those who value it and for yourself. Let go of negativity and remember that you are not responsible for how others choose to treat you, only for how you respond. Cultivate gratitude. Focus on what you have, not what you lack. There is so much beauty in the small moments, the quiet joys of life. When we cultivate an attitude of gratitude, we open our hearts to the abundance that already exists. By embracing these principles, we can navigate life with grace, wisdom, and clarity. We free ourselves from the weight of ungratefulness and discover the lightness of living in alignment with our true selves. In the face of adversity, we can remain centered, knowing that we are walking the path of compassion, and in doing so, we are creating a life filled with peace, understanding, and deep, lasting joy. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. As we embrace these teachings, may you walk with peace, wisdom, and a heart full of compassion. And if you found value in this video, don't forget to subscribe to Quiet Wisdom for more insights on how to live a life rooted in Buddhist philosophy and mindfulness. Together, we can cultivate a world of kindness, understanding, and peace. Take care, and until next time, may your heart be light and your path be filled with wisdom.